Right, as you've probably noticed, I forgot my gloves. Luckily we're only going around the corner today, so, you know, touch wood, we'll be all good. I do desperately need some fuel though. And she is a bit cold, so she's going to rev quite highly. I did warm her up for a minute in the garage, but it's very cold in there. So yeah, this will be my first video. Got a big trip planned. 19th of May, me, my friend Dale, who also has a YouTube channel, Motovlogs, and my brother-in-law Tom. There we go, this is the high revs. It will warm up. So we are heading to the Black Forest. Only I think it's a 5-day trip in total. Little left shuttle tunnel jobby under the channel. I think we got quite an early start, so I think I'm going to end up staying at Dale's the night before. Just to head off because he lives closer to the shuttle, and then yeah, and then I did have these lovely LED German indicators on the rear that were 3-in-1, so running lights, brake lights, indicators. I bought them not long after I bought the bike, installed them, loved them, they were so nice, but they were chrome, and I don't know why I went for chrome because everything else on this bike is black or grey. What's he doing? And then I was pushing my bike out my mum's, caught the indicator on the fence post and snapped it. So I bought another set, and I think they're about 80-90 quid a set. They're proper, you know, proper gear, and installed them. I think I had them for a few months, and well, little did I know, I did know at the time, they stopped working. So I took them off and put the original indicators back on, and then I kind of, as some of you may know, who, if you know me, neglected my bike for a bit, not out of choice really. Didn't really have the space to store the bike properly, so it ended up in the garden under a cover. So some of you probably already noticed the rust, you know, around the bolts on this aftermarket headlight, things like that. So it, you know, but since getting this garage, I've really fallen back in love with riding, really fallen back in love with the bike. It's not my dream bike, it was the bike that I thought was ideal for me when you know, before I passed my test. I was looking at A2, I've only got an A2 license, so I wanted a, you know, a powerful A2 bike that was comfortable. I'm a big guy, 6'3", very heavy set. So I just wanted something that was comfortable, for, you know, front facing, foot pegs, and yeah, so I found the Vulcan, but I knew they are ugly, you know, stock, they are very ugly. So I already knew what kind of mods I wanted to do beforehand. You know, headlight, I wanted to put a classic headlight on it. It came with the aftermarket exhaust. Obviously the indicators, R&G tail tidy. So I put that on, that looks really nice compared to the OEM kind of setup, which is extremely ugly and extremely heavy. When I took it off, I couldn't believe how much it weighed, because it's all just bracket, just solid kind of you know, whatever you call it. I don't know what kind of material it's made out of. Just pure bracket. So when I took that off and put the RNG tail tidy on, you know, I noticed a massive difference with the weight at the back. Yeah, so there she is. I do love her. I want to put my, I saw on Facebook actually, somebody that, in one of the groups, because I've always wanted to put the front fairing back on this, and I didn't really know how you could do it, but they seem to have worked out a way to include a aftermarket headlight and on key, an aftermarket headlight with the front fairing. So I think today, if I have some time after I run my errands, I'm going to break out the front fairing and have a look to see how I can install it. It's just something I've never even tried. It's not even like I tried and failed. It was just like, oh, that definitely doesn't fit there. So yeah, I do love the way she sounds. She's very loud. I mean, low RPM, she's not overly loud, but my friends do say when you're sat behind her at lights, you can definitely feel the pops behind her. But I love it. Loud pipes save lives. You know, she's not obnoxiously loud. Like, I wouldn't, you know, I'm not ashamed to start her up near the house or anything like that. One thing I do want to work on is like my back brake usage. Very heavily reliant on my front brake. It's almost like I don't trust. I've heard like horror stories of just, you know, people locking up the back brake, low siding it. So I'm always a bit dubious about using it. Wait for old matey to turn. But yeah, you know, I'm not aiming to get anything out of this channel. It's probably more so for my mates to see what I'm up to when I'm riding. But yeah, if you like it, you know, drop me a little follow. Oh, the roads around here are shite. Oh. Found my gloves, they were actually in the garage. So I could have just got them this morning. I think we're just going to go for a nice little poodle about today. Probably go to Whitstable. I like riding through the high street there, it's a nice high street. Yeah, I haven't got my, you know, my fast riding gear on today, so I'm not going to be doing anything crazy. Just a little poodle about. So I've got a new helmet. This is the Senna Outrush 2, I believe. So it's got the built-in, you know, Senna device. So I can now communicate with Dale and Tom. It's quite a heavy helmet, I've noticed. So I used to run a Ruroc. I still have it. I do like them, but I hear really mixed things about them. You know, there's some people that rave about them, and you know, because I know at first when they were a startup company there was some like dubiousness about the safety standards that they meet, but I believe that's all sorted now. But yeah, when you just hear things from people, you know, it just puts that little seed of doubt in your mind. You know, and it's probably the most important bit of riding gear is your helmet. So I just don't want to take any risks. You know, my wife uses it, as in she has her own. Nice group of people. Yeah, my wife uses the Ruroc, so, but I mean, we only ever go out to like Whitstable and, you know, local places, so, but I do want to invest in a good helmet for her. Because obviously that is important. But the thing was that sold me for the Ruroc at first. So it was my first ever helmet that I owned myself. So when I did my lessons and what have you, I used my father's helmet, what he used to use to ride. I think it was a Shoei. It was a nice helmet, but obviously it was old. It probably wasn't, you know, wasn't the best idea, but at least I had something. Bike does certainly feel a bit different today, you know. I don't know if it's just because it's, you know, cold. It does sound lovely. You get a good few pops out of nothing too obnoxious. That's with the Arrow exhaust on. With the OEM exhaust, Jesus Christ, they sound like sewing machines. It is an awful sounding motorbike with its OEM exhaust. And this is a slit road, as many people in my city don't know. You don't need to stop and indicate. Well, obviously you should look, because, you know, traffic come from the right. You can't always trust them. I think I'm going to go up through... Oh, that's not good. Oh, that was lucky. Don't know if I'll keep that in or not. It's definitely not my fault. When I bought the quad lock, the little kind of metal grommet that I think the screws into wasn't seated in the plastic, so I think I need to glue that in. Full story, a couple of days ago I fogged this building here on the left. Really nice building. They had a moth infestation, carpet moth. yeah, I do want to get out more. Probably try and get out at least, you know, twice a month on my days off. And then if I work in the office, I like to take the bike up there. But normally, you know, as comes with being a manager and running your company, you're out and you think you got a day in the office, and then shit hits the fan, and you need to go out to a job or whatever. And I'm on the bike, I haven't got any equipment, things like that. So it's just being mindful of that, really. But as some of you know, and some of you don't know, my dream bike is an Africa Twin. I've been looking into them. You can get, you know, a restrictor kit for it. You know, they are prone to fail, but you know, that's not my problem at the end of the day. So this is an A2 compliant bike, so which means obviously the engine size is not A2 compliant, but it can be restricted down to A2 compliant, which is half, I don't know what it is, it's some stupid rule in the UK, like half the total output of power, which basically on this bike includes a screw by the throttle, you know, throttle cam, and you screw it in a certain distance, which is I don't know what, and that then restricts your bike to A2, which basically doesn't allow you to open the throttle fully for, you know, full acceleration. So, you know, that screw is prone to coming loose, I will say. So that's what I'm saying. The joke of it is, I don't know how much that would stand up in court, you know. You get into an accident, insurance companies find out you haven't, you know, it's not fully restricted because the screws come loose. I mean, it's a joke. It's not like it's a proper kit or an ECU plug that restricts it itself. So, you know, it's just a stupid European Union rule that was brought in, and, you know, it was one of those kind of dreams that was sold when Brexit was around, that they would scrap it. And obviously our government doesn't follow anything it says. So this is Whitstable High Street. I absolutely love it. It's not even the good bit yet. Yeah, we'll probably go up to the seafront, ride down the seafront, maybe stop for a coffee somewhere if I see anywhere that I fancy. I've got one of my tattoos done in that building over there. This one just here, Emmy Bell. Yeah, I spent a lot of my childhood up here, getting pissed, sat on the bus stop down there with a kebab at the age of 14, pissed out my nut. We'll actually be riding past one of the places where I used to, well, there used to be a massive group of us, 40, 50 people minimum every weekend throughout the summer. You know, age 14, 15, 16, we'd meet up on the slopes and basically drink. I had a good friend that lived out here, Dexter, used to stay around his, and I'd always end up getting too pissed to play football the next day, so I'd have to bullshit and say I fell down the stairs. I'd have to send my manager a picture of a bag of peas on my ankle or something stupid like that because I was so hungover. Not great really, I don't recommend it. I should have stuck to the football. Probably wouldn't be as fat as I am now if I did, but they were good times. That's where I met my wife. Been together 12 years. Yeah, absolutely love Whitstable. Always see a lot of people I recognise out here. Ooh, shitty ass roads. There's the seafront just up there. Yeah, I've got a lot of stories I can tell. There's the harbour. Get a little pot of whelks, a little dash of vinegar. Oh, it actually smells like fish and chips. Do love me some fish and chips. Could have really got in front of this person, but oh well. One other dream of mine, I'd like to do, you know, charity work on the bike. Love to be a blood biker. I was watching this guy, I can't remember his name, he's only new to YouTube, he's only got about 4 or 5 videos out, but his production, you know, his production value is just insane. He's obviously like, you know, a uni student or something that does photography or videography. You know, it's really, really nice camera work and, you know, editing and things like that. But yeah, I was watching his, he went out for a full day with a blood biker. Yeah, went out for a day with a blood biker, and, you know, went to the air ambulance depot and showed what gets done when it comes to, you know, transporting blood, emergencies. It was really interesting. But you do need, luckily I sat up for that one. Obviously I think you would need a full license because they do ride, you know, big litre bikes, and they also do their enhanced riding, you know, course, and I think they have to retest every year if I remember rightly, which is insane. I doubt they have to pay for it, as in probably paid for by the charity, but you know, it is one of those tests that you can easily fail. So when I did my bike test, my A2, so I had a guy with me who was doing his full bike license, so it was both on Suzuki Gladiuses. I think they're 650cc, same as this, and his was obviously unrestricted, mine was restricted, and he was definitely less of a confident rider than I was. I had a motorbike, or a moped, sorry, from the age of like 16, which I rode around until I crashed it. It's a story for another day. And I don't think he had, I think, you know, this was his first kind of experience riding, and he had already gone out and bought his, I think it was a Yamaha R6. It was a nice bike, black and blue. So he'd already gone out and bought that. So obviously he was desperate to pass too. And I remember the morning of the test, so the mod 1, which is basically you're doing lots of manoeuvres in like a gated area. So it's all about slow, you know, slow movement, slow control, things like that. So it's the morning of the test. We're at the training yard, which was in Margate, and the instructor said, like, look, you know, you've got an hour and a half or whatever to do to work on things that you're not fully comfortable, you know, before the test. So I can't remember what mine was. I think mine was like U-turns or something like that, to which I did, but obviously it meant if I wanted to do it, he had to do it too. Here's where we used to get drunk, sorry, to change subject, just on these slopes down here. So yeah, mine was U-turns, which meant obviously because it took the whole course, he would have to practice them at the same time. So yeah, absolutely fine. And he said slaloms. was obviously riding in and out the cones, getting to the end, doing a U-turn and coming back and doing another slalom. So, and I was pretty confident with the slalom. I, you know, not to be, you know, disrespectful, but I kind of, you know, laughed. I thought, well, that's probably like one of the easiest manoeuvres that we have to do. You know, it's just literally dragging the back brake, using the anchor and moving in and out of these cones. There was nothing kind of technical to it. So I go first, yeah, smash it, pull up, watch him. He gets around the first cone, drops the bike completely, which is obviously an instant fail. So you could see after that he was pretty shaken, you know, well, not shaken, but like he was nervous, you know. It was his worst manoeuvre and he'd just dropped his bike on the practice. So we get up to the test centre. He goes first, passes with flying colours. My turn. So I do all the manoeuvres and it gets to the slalom. And one ridiculous rule, I think, when it comes to these Mod 1 tests, it's not like you can get a minor and, you know, you get, you fucking idiot. It's not like you can get a minor and they give you like 1 or 2 chances, which I understand, you know, on bikes you don't get many chances to go wrong. But, you know, when you, especially slow manoeuvres and things like that, you know, it's very easy to clip a car or clip a bollard or whatever. But get around the first cone, perfectly fine. Second cone, perfectly fine. Get to the last cone before I have to do like the U-turn at the end to come back through, and my toe was out like this, clipped the cone, clipped the cone, fail. And the thing is, you know you failed, you know there's no going back, there's no chance of them going, oh yeah, you clipped the cone, but you know, we'll let you off. And this is like the third manoeuvre out of about 8 or 9 that you have to do. So I'm just thinking, well, what's the point? You know, I know I failed, but then I kind of had it in my head that no, I might have an instructor that goes, you know, I didn't see that. So I thought, right, you know, I'll carry on, and you know, and I finished it perfectly. There was not one issue. My U-turn was fine, hazard avoidance, things like that. It was just this bloody slalom. And one thing they don't tell you until you do fail your Mod 1 is that if you fail your Mod 1, your Mod 2 gets cancelled, and you actually lose the money on the Mod 2 as well. So it's like £150 if I remember rightly. I might be completely wrong, it might be more or less, but I think it's around that. So yeah, I found that out, you know, when I got off the bike. He said, like, I'm sorry mate, you failed, you know, you hit that cone, you know, yeah, I did know I hit that cone. You're gonna have to rebook. So it's so frustrating, because like you and your instructor and the examiner all know that you can ride and you can perform these manoeuvres, but purely just from hitting a cone you fail. And I do believe that's like another European examination requirement, you know, it's not. But yeah, that was the story of my Mod 1.